even first. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to visiting lecture today with DMI John the Baptist University, Malawi. Welcome to the Honorable Mr. Ulemu Mponela as a lecturer in computer science. With the topic today is the role of technology in economy development, how computer science drives national growth. And for today's session is being live streamed on the Universitas STEKOM YouTube channel. And now I will read our agenda this afternoon. First, we will start class presentation by Mr. Ulemu and continue with the Q&A session and take a picture for documentation. And last step is closing. So let's begin. We will the main event presentation and start our class today delivered by Mr. Ulemu Mponela. Yeah, for Miss Dr. Ulemu, the time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope I am audible. You can hear me.
Yes, sure. And maybe if possible, can you turn on your video camera also? Thank you.
All right. Okay, I just want to set up my system because I want to use an auxiliary platform so that I can easily manage to do. So just give me a few minutes so that I can just set my system so that I can share the presentation.
Good morning, sir. Yeah.
Yes, can you just bear with me a few minutes? Just spare some 2 minutes. I'm just finishing setting up my system. I want to use an auxiliary system, so apologies for the delays, but I'll begin anytime soon.
We will wait. Bagi para peserta bisa ditunggu sekitar 5 menit.
You can as well with the presentation.
Ya, karena untuk hasilnya masih ada kendala teknikal di web yang dikasih. Terima kasih.
Ulemu, if you can manage, you can also send me a copy of your presentation. then I'll forward it to STEKOM. Just in case you are facing some challenges.
Okay, I think it's now working. Let me just share my presentation. Okay, I think it is saying that I cannot share my my presentation. I don't know, the admin, can you please
Send it
give
to
me
me.
rights?
Send it to me
I
on
should.
WhatsApp. Send it to me on
Okay.
WhatsApp. Then I'll forward it to uh, uh, STEKOM.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay, I have sent it to your WhatsApp. I hope you can able to see it.
Yes. Yes, let me forward it. Yes, so I've sent it to Novita. So Novita, can you beam it from your side, please? The presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Novita. Thank you. We can see it now. Right. Ulemu, you can.
Yes, yes, I can see the presentation now. Okay, thank you so much. All right, I hope I'm audible enough and you can all clearly hear me. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much for according me this opportunity. to be able to present on the topic of the role of technology in economic growth, especially looking at how computer science drives national growth. So basically, I'll be doing a simple presentation within a few minutes concerning the same, looking at quite a number of few things that we'll be able to give account of by the end of today, hopefully to say that everybody who has attended this workshop today can be able to understand quite a few things concerning how computer science relates to economic growth as well. Yes, so can you go to the next slide? All right, so first of all, I just want to give an overview of what we'll be able to cover. So on this presentation, what mainly I'll be able to cover, we'll look at the introduction. Basically, in the introduction part, I will mostly speak on things concerning where technological-wise, where we are coming from, and at the moment where we are, and what have been some of the major influences of technology that have even shaped the world as it is right now, and that has shaped as well the superpowers, so-called superpowers that we have at this moment in time. And after looking at that, we'll also look into the technology in developing nations, and also basically looking at the challenges and the opportunities to be addressed technological-wise, meaning to say that in this section, we are going to mainly look at the way technology is at the current state concerning developing countries, and also apart from that, looking at maybe the challenges that they face as developing nations, and also looking at the opportunities that are there as well, that any nation, regardless if maybe you're a developing nation or not, but of course I'll much focus on developing nations and the opportunities that they can be able to adopt, so that they can be able to have even success, and even to be more economically independent as a nation. And also after that, I'm going to share concerning the change in governance, whereby mainly I will explain concerning embracing technology and IT governance, whereby we're just looking at the will factor mostly, or concerning the actual government side, because we need first of all to understand that any technological advancements that happen in a nation, the major driving factor or the major driving force behind is the actual government itself, how much they are willing to be able to fund these programs or projects, to be able to even maybe sensitize the people that are within their nation for any technological advancements that are happening as well. And also, apart from that, we're also going to look at the actual sectors affected by technology, or in this case, let me put it in this sense to say that we're mainly looking at the areas that a nation can look out for in order, or maybe if they want to embrace technology in one area or another, what are the main sectors that a nation can be able to implement or even embrace technology as well. So basically, I'll focus on these 4 things, just to give a brief background on this topic. Yeah. Can you go to the next slide? Thank you. So first of all, I just want to give a simple definition, or rather a simple description of where we are coming from. We first of all need to understand that technology has mainly been used since the evolution of man. And when we're talking of the evolution of man, we are even going back to as early as the Stone Age and even the Iron Age, when basically men were learning how to maybe to craft some weapons, to be able to embrace the metal materials, so that they could even be able to produce other things as well. So whenever we're talking about technology, it has actually lived with us, or we can say that it has actually been with us ever since the evolution of man started. Because the only difference is that when the years were passing, or when the centuries were passing, the technological advancements were also changing. And mainly, if we are to look at the track record of where we're coming from, like the Stone Ages and the Iron Age, no wonder this is why when we're talking of the Iron Age, we mostly speak of the Roman Empire. the thing that made the Roman Empire to be so much successful as a nation, or let's say like as a monarch, it was because of what? It was because of the technological advancements that they had at that time in the Iron Age. So at this time, at this moment in time, it was one of the most powerful superpowers that they were there, and they were able to craft weapons out of iron materials to be able to make more sophisticated weapons, to the extent that they had covered much ground, not only in Europe but also to other surrounding places, like maybe even in the Asia as well. So all these things, it was made possible because of the technological advancements that they were at that particular moment in time. So you could see, to say that, if assuming to say that we're talking about economically wise, they were able to craft weapons, which they were also able to sell to other nations as well. They are also able to have maybe contracts with other people or other organizations and other even clans and other tribes, so that they can be able to make weapons for them. And in turn, we know that because there was that called your business relation, they were now being able to have money, or to have a stable income base as a nation, whereby it even propelled them more to even greater heights. So the technological advancements do not only stop there, but even when we look at them, we can say maybe from early technological advancement, and mainly we can say that the technology that now we are enjoying, we can probably attribute it to this time frame between especially the late 19th century to the early 20th century, because the most thing that influenced or fueled the rise of technology usage was as a result of the First World War and the Second World War, whereby in the First World War, we saw that there was a surge in the actual advancements that were happening at that particular moment in time, whereby we are looking at the inventions of maybe we can say like military aircrafts, submarines, aircraft carriers, and so forth, whereby now even talking about communication wise, because we see that because of the advent of war that started to happen in the 19th century, of the First World War to the second one, it also propelled us to even have more technological advancements that we are even utilizing until today. Like, for example, the main reason that the telephone network came to be wasn't because necessarily the people that were making the telephone networks wanted us as people to be utilizing them, but it was a way of people to be able to communicate easily, especially in the military world. So you can see now, because what happened was that the actual superpowers at that moment in time, the ones that made much more sophisticated weapons or had more advanced technologies, it made them to be a superpower, whereby they could impose their rule over other nations. Let's say, for example, as we know, like what we call here in Africa, we say that the scramble for Africa. That scramble for Africa, you see that we mainly had it because it was only the superpowers that did that. And mainly the reason why were they called like superpowers, you now see to say that because of the actual technological advancements that they had. So it meant to say that now they had access to even impose their rule on other people, whereby they could now be able to get natural resources or even raw materials from especially like maybe parts of Asia and even Africa as well. So you could see that because of the change in technology, it made all these countries to be known as superpowers. I'll give an example. Let's say, for example, as it is right now, we can say that America is one of the superpowers of the nation, if not the superpower of the nation. But when even World War I was starting, it was not yet regarded as a superpower, because at the moment in time, the powers that were mostly regarded as superpowers were European countries. But now, since technology started to come in, they were now being more advanced. It now propelled them to be known as what? To be known as a country that is now called a superpower. And that meant to say, because at that moment in time, they were now able to make like tires using rubber. They were now also able to make sophisticated weapons. It meant to say that they could now be able to sell those weapons and they could now be able to what? To have money as well. Until all these things propelled to the 20th century, when now we were looking at what? We were looking at like the Second World War now, until this age whereby we are now in the 21st century. And even in the same sense, even in the 21st century, we have now seen that even the technology, as it continues to advance, it is now making other little known nations to be now sort of like economically stable. I can give a good example of Singapore. Singapore is one of the countries, just some few years ago, it was one of the least developed countries. But now, after embracing technology, after now embracing a change in the way they do their things, you now saw that at the moment in time, a lot of things that we probably even enjoy or even consume, they're even coming from that side, either technology-wise or even other things as well. So you can now see to say that any nation that is solely embracing technology, it is now, or rather you can say it can propel them from either a third world nation or any other at any other level that they are, to become one of the superpowers, or in other words, you can say to become one of the world trusted players in the industry. For the biggest example on this one can be China. China was not known as one of the best countries when it comes to technology. Maybe we can say Japan, yes, because the Japanese have been inventing technology since quite a few decades, or we can say centuries, if I'm to be corrected on that one. But when it came to China, after now they even adopted this same principle of trying to make technology count in their own nation. Today, even much of the things that we're even consuming, even much more like Africa, we are even coming from China, because now they embraced it to the extent to say that their GDP per capita, it is even, I think, if I'm not wrong, it is even better than the United States of America. Meaning to say that financially, they have even streamlined a lot of things that now, today, they are able to what? We're being able to utilize as well. So all these things, you can see that the examples I've given, you can see that you cannot separate the two. You cannot separate economic growth from technology. The only different thing that is happening is that it is only changing, maybe let's say from other little or maybe less technological advancements to much more sophisticated ideas that are being implemented right now. So with this introduction, that's why I wanted to start from, so that as we continue to look at some other few concepts, we can be able to also grasp one or two things in it. Yeah. Can you go to the next slide? Yes, so on the next slide, I want to much focus on the technology, especially in developing nations, because I understand that the way we can explain technological advancements in a developing nation and a nation that is already developed, it is probably not similar, but a bit different. So I'll much focus on the developing nations, because I believe that that is where we have got much work to look into. So on this one, as I already said in the table of contents, that I'll much focus on the challenges that are there, and also looking at the opportunities that are there, so that at least we can be able to understand how we can be able to embrace technology, or at least if we want to
Yes, the problem of internet connection interruption. So let's wait while he's trying to reconnect. Let's keep on waiting while he's trying to reconnect on internet problem. It's internet problem.
Okay, sorry for the interruption, but unfortunately I had a cut in my internet connection, but now I'm back up online. Yeah, sorry for that inconvenience. Yeah, so if you might reshare the presentation once more so that I might continue where I left from. Yes, can you go to yeah, can you go to slide number is it yeah, the next slide. Just go straight to the next slide. All right, so mainly I wanted to also share on the challenges and the opportunities that are there. So on the challenges and the opportunities, mainly we want to look at the opportunities that are there. If we're assuming to say that anyone who would like or would want to be able to embrace technological advancements, what are some of the things that he or she, or in this case, we can say that as a nation, you would like to what? You would like to embrace as well technological advancements. The first opportunities that are there for at least developing nations is the availability of new markets, because what is the thing that is there is that a lot of nations that are yet to embrace technology, it means to say that the way of businesses and the way their markets are structured, they are in such a way that, because I don't know, I have unmuted my my webcam. I don't know if it's visible from that side, but I cannot see myself. So maybe you can also help us on that. Yeah, so I was explaining to say that on the new markets, it means to say that we are now going beyond the conventional ways, the way we do it, with the way we do businesses. Meaning to say that the actual thing that is happening now, we are now sort of like venturing into uncharted waters, whereby we are now discovering new ways or new markets on how to conduct business. It can be a set of hello. I think I'm having persistent internet issues. Yeah, so sorry for that because it's unfortunate, it's way beyond my control. But I hope now I'm back online. Yes, thank you so much. So I was explaining on the new markets. Now, under the new markets, I was saying that because now you have embraced technology, it means to say that you now have got access to newer markets that in the first time you never even had access to. In this case, we're looking at international markets. Let's assume that maybe it's you are maybe a nation that is sort of like embracing technology, and maybe you have started to, maybe you have companies that are now offering, let's say, for example, computer services, in this case, like maybe off-the-shelf computer services. You can now see to say that now, because that is what you have done, you have now a much more wider customer base, because now you are not only relying on what? You are not only relying on the actual people that are within your country. But now, because a lot of people are seeing that what you're offering is quite good, they can now also sort of like attract foreign investors to say that, okay, in such a country, we have got, or rather they are doing this kind of things. Now, because normally, because you're interacting internationally, you are now able to even bring in more art. You are now even able to bring in more forex into your nation, whereby you now help out to even subsidize at least the foreign exchange in terms of its availability. I might give an example of like our nation right now in Malawi. We have got this company which is called Spark Systems. Spark Systems, it's basically not a telecommunication company, but we can just say it's a technological company, which the owner started right from here in our nation. But now, because it has grown, they are now able to, they now have actually physical offices in about 10 countries within Africa. And also, they're also branching off to other European and in the Americas as well. So you now see to say that their customer base at the start of the company, there were only mainly people that are within, or we can say maybe their clients, their clientele list was only within the nation as well. But now, since they started to utilize the technologies that were there in terms of digital marketing, and also maybe creating their own websites and so forth, and now little by little, they started to what? They started to advance in actually finding even more, to even finding more opportunities outside the countries. And now, because they are much dealing with international governments and other stakeholders as well, it means to say that even in terms of the returns on income, it means when they are paying them, they do not pay them in our local currency, but mainly it means to say that they'll be paid in dollars. So just having that, it means to say that automatically there is now that growth within the nation, whereby it means to say that because of them coming in of forex, now the government can even be able to do their own things that they normally do. Let's say in this case, like maybe they want to purchase other things, to import other things as well. It means to say that now they have got what? They have got a lot of money that they can be able to use. Maybe they want to import fuel and so forth. All these things now they can be able to utilize, because we are now having a lot of companies that are now coming up, and they are also being exposed to what? They are also being exposed to international markets as well. And even another opportunity is also on untapped potentials. When we say untapped potential, what basically we're trying to say is that, I'll give an example of maybe mostly in the least developed countries. You will notice, or in this case, let me speak of Africa. We can say that Africa is probably maybe one of the continents, or if not the continent, that has got a lot of raw materials. So because of these raw materials, it means to say that if now we can have the actual technologies that can be able to exploit these materials, it means to say that now we can start to come up with what? To come up with things that are now much more great to even the international audience, or to the international markets as well. I'll give an example of maybe, let's say, like for example, the automatic vehicles that are now popular. You see that the automatic vehicles, or in this case, let's say that are like the EVs, like the electric vehicles, you see that many things that the electric vehicles they use in terms of the actual raw materials, they're coming from Africa, parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and other nations as well. So you're seeing that for us, or rather as a world, the world as a whole, in order for it to be able to produce electric vehicles at at huge quantities of volumes. It means to say that they have to have a way on how they can be able to acquire what? They can be able to acquire those raw materials. Now, because they're coming to those countries, it means to say that not only come there and without the actual money that is there. So if let's assume now to say that it is now the actual governments in these developing countries that are now taking this thing taking it as something they want to implement. You'll now notice to say that because they're doing that, they can now be able to even have a whole lot of probably even income that they never even realized. Because one, it means to say they'll have the means of extracting the raw materials that they would like to extract. Talking of things like maybe even gold, copper, bauxite, and so forth, even uranium and any other minerals that are there. All these things, they have got a way on how they can contribute to the economy or to the economical growth of a certain country. But now what mainly lacks is the actual ability to be able to work, or in this case, as in the structures that can be put in place and the technologies that can help out to do those kind of things. Because we're now looking at extreme maybe we can say like maybe extreme engineering that also requires complex engineering. But now with the coming in of technology, it means to say that we can now be able to what? We can now be able to see all these things. We can now be able to utilize all these things in the best way that any nation can. And as a result, it means to say that that untapped potential that was within a nation, it will now stay within the nation, and they will only now sell, or maybe we can say that they will now only export goods as a product, not as raw materials. And because there is value added to it, it means to say that even more money will be coming inside the country as well. So all these things, it means to say that that untapped potential, it does not now continue to stay untapped. You are now tapping into the potential of the country. Now, this is true to every nation, because every nation, they have got their own, we can say, things that they can look into. Like this, that's why I was giving example on that sense. But we even have got other countries that probably, like for example, maybe that are within the desert areas. They have normally huge. They normally have huge sunshine levels, and also maybe concerning like the actual days or months that they have got the sun. You see that it is a lot. Now they can even embrace that and now start to have solar panels and so forth to power maybe their cities, to power even agricultural systems as well, or agricultural and other agricultural equipment as well, to even empower homes as well. So because now they're utilizing this, they're utilizing the normal sun that they have, they can now be able to embrace this technology by now bringing in this sort of changes. Now, because all these changes are happening, it means to say that the untapped potential that was within the actual countries, they have now started to utilize this potential to the extent that now the economy of the country is now sort of like booming to even the GDP even as well. The GDP ratio is also increasing as well. And also on new businesses, basically it is the same principles that I've been speaking. In this case, looking at the examples of like maybe the markets that were not there before, but now because we have got, or we can say that now because we are tapping into the potential that we have as developing countries, we are now experiencing new businesses and also discovering other new businesses that were not there. Like for example, now the tech industry. The tech industry, it is sort of like still more something like newish in nature when it comes to much developing countries, because like the tech industry, it has just come probably like some 10 to 15 years ago. That's when now we have started to pick it up in a lot of developing countries, especially in Africa. Now, because at first we did not have these like tech companies, now people are able to understand, and other clients are able to understand that in order for us to be abreast with whatever thing that is happening in the world, we need to embrace technology. So it means to say that because there's that need, other people now or other companies are being formed in form of what? In form of tech companies, whereby they are offering bespoke solutions, let's say like maybe according to their client base, that is, maybe they can want to make softwares for them, or maybe they can want to offer services to them, you know, all these kind of things, or maybe to put up structures for them, like data structures for them. So you see that now you are entering into a new file, or into a new portfolio, whereby what the things that you at first you were not able to actually see, or otherwise to do, you are now able to do them, because there's those new businesses that are coming in. And most of the times, especially like in the tech industries, these businesses, they normally fetch quite a huge amount in terms of monetary terms. That means it does not matter if it is within the nation, or maybe other clients are international. But because you are into these things, it means to say that one or the other, there'll still be money that is coming in within a nation. And this also as well will help to propel will help as well to propel the developing nations even greater, at least economic wise. And also automatically, because this is happening as an opportunity, it means there will now be a higher GDP. It means even the ratio, or we can say that the average earning of a person, it will even grow up, or we can say that it will even increase. So it means to say that even the GDP of the nation will even be great, because there is now that embracing of technology. And because we have embraced technology, we are having multiple streams of income that are coming inside the actual nation as well. And also as well, we are also having like what we call job securities. In as much as we know, probably maybe we've ever heard of this phrase to say that technologies may be sort of like making people to lose their job. But in actual sense, you understand to say that the only thing that is happening, it is like now a new phase of working has now been ushered into, meaning to say the way we used to work back in the days is no longer the same way that we are working right now. Like, for example, I'll give a simple example. At first, maybe if we have to take like any accounting profession, they had their set of rules and stuff that they were supposed to follow and they're supposed to do. But now, because technology is coming in, and now it has also brought in another way how people can work, it means to say that people now no longer actually employ a whole lot of accounting professionals. But the actual thing that is happening, it is now they are sort of like using the softwares to implement, to complement what is already there. Now, because it means to say that the technology is changing, it means even the actual workforce, it is also updating, or it is also changing as well. So once these systems are coming in, they are now sort of like calling for the actual people that know these systems, not only knowing the accounting principles, but who also know to work on the actual systems, either it's a software or the actual machines. So because now we are seeing that there is now a much wider gap, a much wider scope in terms of now like the fields or the industries that people can work. It means to say that still more people are having opportunities of being job secure, because now there's multiple fields that people can be able to be employed in. Like, for example, we did not have things like concerning like maybe computer scientists, who like maybe, or even programmers. These are sort of like new areas or new channels whereby now, because it is something that has come into play, now people are needed to work on those machines, even computer engineers as well. At first we never had them, but because technology is changing, it has now brought in these jobs whereby people can be able to utilize as well. But because even more jobs have been created, it means to say that even the overall structure, or let's say in this case that the overall livelihood of the people within the nation, it is also booming as well. Now, because the livelihood of the people is also booming, automatically the economy of the nation is also it is also booming as well. But still more, in as much as that is the sake, we should also look on these challenges. The main challenges in a whole lot of African countries that at least I have noticed and also researched on, it is concerning on investment in infrastructure. The most thing that puts off a lot of developing countries to venture into like full-blown technological advancement. It is the issue of infrastructure, because normally we are having countries that have not even either implemented, or maybe they have even implemented about maybe 10% of technology. But now, in order for them to start to enjoy the fruits of their labor, it means to say they also have to invest a lot. Now, when we come to especially developing countries, because of lack of even a stable financial base, because a lot of developing countries will still rely on donor aid in order for them to help us to finance the everyday operations of even maybe the government operations and even the whole nation as a whole. Now, when they look at those costs, they now see them as something as a hindrance for them to be able to for them to be able to fully implement technology as well. Like, for example, if you look at maybe, let's say, for example, like the agricultural sector, in order for us to have a vibrant agricultural sector, it is looking beyond just maybe, for example, mechanizing the actual agriculture itself, but you are now looking at embracing other things like maybe concerning like IoT devices and also IoT in general, big data, and all these things. In order for them to work perfect, they require what is sort of like a complex infrastructure that needs to be put in place. Because let's assume to say that maybe, like for example, right now in our country, Malawi, we have just started to implement what we call mega farms. In order for these mega farms to be properly handled, that the actual use that have been projected, they can actually realize them. They will hugely rely on IT infrastructure, or in this case, on technology that is there at the moment. It means that they're utilizing big data. They're also utilizing IoT. They are also utilizing other systems as well. Now, because all these things, in order for them to be set in place, it means when they look at the cost, it is something that is looked as maybe being vast or being a lot. So, in order for countries to fully embrace these things, it means to say that they are normally put off. Let's take, for example, a simple thing. We even have like latency delays when it comes to simple things like networks. You normally see that it is not a lot of countries that have implemented the 5G network, especially in developing nations. Why? Because in as much as 5G is there, but now because the cost of putting up those structures that can be able to sustain the 5G network, you see that they have not been put in place. And even until today, there are still some other countries that are yet to implement fiber optic. Now, because even the overall technology of fiber optic, it is quite expensive. You see that for them to be able to understand the value that those things can bring, or those systems can bring, you see to it that as a result, they are not what? They are not fully implementing these systems or these structures, because they see to it like maybe, okay, it is something that is not it is not worthwhile for us to implement because of the money that is involved within that vicinity. And also another challenge as well, it is the internet connectivity, just like I was explaining right now. Even both issues of network, whereby it's either you can have low or poor connections, or even at times no connection at all. And also we are looking at the same example that I was giving, that as I was explaining concerning like maybe the fiber optic, because right now the best technology that is there for connectivity, it is fiber optic. But now the cost that is there to fully implement fiber optic, it is not a small amount. It is quite a huge amount. So you see that, for example, you see that maybe there are just a few places that have implemented that this technology has been implemented, because for them to take it as a serious project to connect the whole nation, or maybe to connect the whole country as a whole, they see that project as being sort of like being over ambitious. Yet, in as much as that is the sake, it will start to bring in good internet services and even good internet connectivities, meaning to say that because of that, even the type of businesses that are now coming in, they can even exploit these connections to the max. And another challenge as well in most developing countries, it is the digital divide gap. When we're talking about the digital divide gap, we're basically looking at the people that first of all have got access to technology, and also two, they know how to utilize the technology that is around. And looking at the people that also do not have one access to those actual technologies, and also two that do not know how to utilize those technologies as well. So because this is sort of like because we are still looking at the developing countries, we now see that the digital divide gap is actually quite huge. Why? Because most of the, let's say in this case, like the telecommunication companies, because they are also profit oriented, they would also want to put their structures where they know that they will have great services, or rather where they'll be able to make much profits. It is not useful for them as a company to be able to set up their structures maybe in some remote area or in some remote places, because maybe one, the people that know how to use technology, maybe they are few, and also people that have got smartphones, they are also what? They are also few. So it means to say that starting from the actual telecommunication companies themselves, they will at most sort of like run away from the areas where there are less people who are literate, because they want to focus on them or to want to focus on the people that can be able to that can be able to consume their services as well. So as a result, it means to say that because of the digital divide, even if sometimes the government can come in to say that, okay, we want to set up maybe structures or systems that can help us to advance technologically wise, a person that lives in the rural area, they will not, okay, they'll maybe understand, but now they will not really understand what this means. Because to them, if we're to talk about business, they understand to say that maybe business has to be in monetary terms. You have to exchange one another, the goods and even the money. You pay, they give you the goods, or in this case, they pay, you give them the goods. But even to embrace even things like mobile banking, to them it's a bit challenging, because they either may not understand how they work, or maybe they might also not be able to fully trust the systems as well. So you can say that even the divide gap, it is also propelling a lot of developing countries to fail to we can say that to tap into the potential that is there economy-wise when it comes to technological advancements. And also as a challenge as well, another one, we are looking at the change in resistance, whereby what we are looking at, as I was speaking, because sometimes when technology is coming, because at times people have been used to how things operate, they do not actually feel comfortable migrating to newer technologies. Like, for example, what I was just explaining right now. Like in Africa, we are still heavily, if we're to talk maybe like, for example, the banking sector, we are still heavily reliant on the actual banking halls to go in there, you know, maybe withdraw, or maybe to even deposit money, and any other banking services that we know. But nowadays, they have brought in systems like newer systems whereby people can be able to people can be able to people can be able to sort of like a bank online, you know, and even transact online. But people, in as much as they know that those things are there, but because of change resistance, they do not actually feel comfortable to utilize those systems, and they would still prefer to go to the banking halls, you know, wait for 30 or so minutes in order for them to be able to do the transaction that they wanted. So mainly these are the most challenges that are there concerning concerning the taking up of technology as well. Yeah, can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so after looking at those challenges and opportunities, we should now look at the change in governance. Now, when we're talking about the change in governance, basically what we're trying to say, or rather to mean, is this. Any nation that is to go be at least a will. Maybe that's where I can start from. Whereby what I'm looking at, it is to say that if the government does not want to implement, or rather it does not want to embrace technology, it is very much difficult for even the public sector and even the private sector to embrace to embrace technological advancements as well. But because there is that political will, it means to say that as a change in governance, it can be sort of like maybe like policies and stuff to say that, okay, we as a nation, we want to implement what? We want to implement this. So be able to even technological changes that are there. They are continuing to use them. It means to say that the whole operation of businesses and other things as well, it is also changing. So it means to say that if a country does not, at least in the government aspect, if it does not embrace, if there's not that political will, it means to say that they'll not be able to what? They'll not be able to sort of like to tap, or rather to be able to utilize what is already there, because they have not what? They have not embraced technology to the max. So at first, we need to look at that will, because if that the public and the private should be vibrant enough, because it will be the government itself that has spearheaded those things. Now, looking at another thing as well, it is on the IT laws and security, because a lot of developing countries, they do not yet know how maybe they can regulate, sort of like regulate the use of maybe like the internet, or even concerning security and even IT laws in general. You see to say that a lot of countries now, let's assume that maybe they're faced with other challenges concerning technology, they can be able to fail either to prosecute, or either to be able to give a proper judgment, or either to be able to give the right direction, because they do not have the law, on which to govern the use of IT in nature. Okay. In general, that is. So with their governments, they can be able to bring forth the rule of law and put it into writing, put in place the proper structures, so that people can be able to know what or how should the internet be utilized, or rather how should technology be embraced, all those kind of things. And if maybe a person does not do the right thing, what are the penalties that are involved, and so forth. Like, for example, you see that just, I think, is it a year ago, Mark Zuckerberg was being prosecuted on other charges concerning privacy issues. All those things, they were able to prosecute him because they had the proper laws that were able to govern what? To govern the use of social media. Now, because he did not even give account of the things that were happening on Facebook and TikTok, and not TikTok, but Instagram and other platforms as well, it meant to say that he was now found liable for the actual data breaches that happened as well, and he was given a penalty of which he paid. But in a lot of developing countries, it's like we are working blind, whereby we have no structures, or rather we have nothing that can help us on how to utilize these things. So these things help a lot, because it means to say that, for example, if it is a company that is coming up, what associations are there that help to govern the use, or maybe we can say that help out to make sure that there is a smooth transition for tech companies that are coming up. So we need to have even associations that also look into all these things, to say that if maybe it is a business concerning tech companies, how should they operate, and how should they even be able to look into things like fair trade practices. How should those things be addressed? So because now we are looking at all these laws, they now help out to map a good way, or to map a way forward on all these things. And also on the national investments, just like what I was explaining on infrastructure, the government itself has to be in the forefront to make sure that they are putting in place the right kind of investments concerning technology. Like, for example, in Malawi, they've just ushered in like smart cities, whereby they want to have a couple of smart cities, whereby they can be like a benchmark for even other nations to come and see, and even call as well from what we are doing here. So basically, the smart cities, it means to say that anything that is being done there, that is not transfer forth, anything that concerns technology will be implemented right there. So it means to say that now the government is taking up the role even to spearhead these investments as well, even having data structures that even the actual government itself uses. It means to say that by doing that, it will be able to what? The countries will be able to to even come up in terms of economy wise. Yeah, can we come to the last slide? Yes, so now the last slide that I want to explain, it is concerning the sectors that are affected by technology. In this case, as I already said, we are looking at sort of like the sectors that at least can be able to embrace technology. Of course, there are quite a number of them, but I just listed this for example purposes so that at least we shouldn't exhaust everything, but at least these are the main core points. When first of all, at least when looking at the healthcare, in healthcare, if we start to embrace, because whenever we're looking at the livelihood of people, if we are having a nation that there are people inside the nation, there are people that are being sort of like being treated right, and they do not normally have cases that are still pending. It means to say that you are having a vibrant workforce whereby it's either they are healthy or else they are also what they are also being helped a lot in the sense of being in the sense of implementing the technological advancements as well. So it means to say that in the health centers, or in the sense of healthcare, we are looking at the telemedicine. What we're trying to say is that we can now have platforms whereby either medical professionals can be able to what they can be able to sort of like do maybe like an online diagnosis, or even help out maybe even patients that are sick in the remote areas. Like for example, I'll give an example, like in our country, we have what we call like the help us address what? Okay, they help us by even addressing other challenges that we face because maybe due to lack of good roads and so forth, they can still be able to connect to the remote areas by maybe sending them text messages, by even having online platforms, and all those sorts of things. So even in this way, it means to say that the actual productivity of people, it will be enhanced, because it means to say that whenever they have got problems health-wise, they are ably helped accordingly. And even when we're even looking at the medical research, because even nowadays they're coming in, there's been a surge in, we can say that diseases that do not, that even scientists are yet okay. I think I don't know what happened there. Yeah. So I was explaining to say that in e-learning, we can now be able to, or rather we can say that people that cannot actually be able to physically come to the education institutions, they can now be able to what? They can now be able to sort of like to attend schools that are, in this case, I should give an example, maybe like you're having schools maybe in America and in the European countries, which are top-notch schools. It is not easy for everyone who is quite far away, like maybe here for us in Africa, to be able to maybe afford every, like maybe the tuition fees and also maybe the accommodation and stuff, and even the education as well. But because they are now offering online platforms, we can now be able to what? We can now be able to embrace those things, to now be able to pay an affordable amount whereby we can still be able to learn at the end of the day, be educated. And even this is also true for the overall nations as developing nations, because we have got like, I'll give an example from where I'm working at DMI. DMI been doing open distance learning, whereby we are also embracing the use of these technologies, that even people that are far from our campuses, they can also they can also enroll in online classes, whereby they can be able to be taught, and at the end of the day they can still be able to they can also be able to be certified and graduate as well. Now it means to say that because we are now having a lot of people that are being taught, now we are having a lot of people that now have got the expertise that are needed within the nation, either be it in education and any other sector as well. And even educational tools, in this case, like interactive software and applications, they are now able to be embraced as well, whereby giving a much more thorough education experience for any learner that has encountered this as well. And even in the field of finance, we have got things like digital payments. It means to say, because now we can be able to do digital payments, we do not actually need to be present or maybe to the international markets, but just by transacting online, we can be able to do digital payments. And even we have got fintech, and in fintech, what basically we're just trying to say, or rather what it means, it is concerning financial technology, whereby we are looking at the companies that are into finance, they are offering innovative services like what? Like mobile banking, whereby now people can be able to transact using mobile banking safely. Now, because there is that kind of transactions that are happening, automatically it means to say that the economy as well, it is also booming. And also in manufacturing, now because there is that use or the surge in technological uses, it now means to say that we are what? We are now utilizing things like automation, like maybe automating like the processes that are there. And because we are automating them, it means to say that there is now high productivity levels, because it means those machines, they can work even for 24 hours non-stop throughout the year, provided it has been given the right kind of maintenance. And it means because productivity is high, it means to say that even the kind of income that will even come from there, it will also be what? It will also be great. And because also as well, we're looking at IoT devices, which as well help to monitor like the equipments, and also to optimize the performance of the actual systems. It means to say at most, you are what? You are guaranteed in terms of the actual quality of the actual products or even services that you are offering as well. So in as much as this is not the only sectors that are affected by technology, like even we have got the agricultural sector, the transportation industry as well, all these areas, we have got even it can also be affected by what? By technology, hugely affected by technology that been put in mind. Yeah, so this is what I've had for you this morning. But this is what I wanted to present. My apologies that I had some network issues, but I believe you have been able to follow through whatever thing that I presented. Thank you so much once again for according me this time. And at this moment in time, may I leave it over to the facilitator. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation, sir. If you're a participant, if you have any question for the speaker, please add them to the chat, or you can raise your hand. We will wait until 3 minutes. Yeah, thank you. Just to be sure.
So does this mean there is no one who has a question?
But
Or
we have question from student already right in the room chat. Sure. This is visible from your side. No? I will read. Yeah, for our first question, we have question from Mr. Abdul. Could you elaborate on specific example of how advancement in computer science have directly contributed to economic growth in developing country, and what role government policy play in supporting this technological development? Thank you.
okay, thank you for that wonderful question. I don't know if maybe I am allowed to give examples of other countries apart from my own, but I believe if you were able to clearly hear me, I was also explaining using examples. And let me just give an example of this nation called Rwanda. It's a nation in Africa. I've deliberately selected it because it is now sort of like a nation that is also hugely adapting to technological advancements. Now, what you need to understand is that when we come to technology, as I already said, you cannot what? You cannot divide, or rather you cannot differentiate these two when it comes to economy, and when it also comes to what? When it also comes to development as a nation. Now, if we are to look at the example that I was giving concerning Rwanda, they had policies. First of all, let me start from there, because in your question, I think you also mentioned about policies. They did not just come up to implement the technologies, or let's just say that the systems that were put in place. But first of all, they came in with the actual policies that sort of like would give them the idea of how maybe they can implement these technological changes. Now, after they had drafted those policies, they now implemented them in sort of like what? In sort of like, now, how can we implement them so that they can be able to we can be able to utilize them to the extent that now what you need to understand, they can, depending on the level of where the country is at the moment, it can be from things as simple as maybe just automating the day-to-day processes, okay? Or maybe just developing a simple website. Those can be, it can be those kind of simple things. But now, because that is what is happening, it is now being able to what? It is now being able to sort of like maybe to give in a new idea of how maybe work should be done. Now, as I was explaining on the case of Rwanda, because now this is what they did, it means to say that they now change the way they do, or rather the way they act, when it comes to what? When it comes to even marketing. If you might recall, I was explaining concerning marketing as well. Now, what they did, they now started to realize the potential that is there as the world as a whole, and now they started to utilize even external markets by now sort of like acquiring other people from the outside to come into play, so that they can be able to attract them. They can come into what? Into their nation to invest. How so? They now realize the potential that they had. In actual sense, what they did, their actual national budget, they had an allocation of whereby they would sponsor one of the sporting teams by giving them money for the sake of what? Marketing. So what they are doing is international marketing. Now they had a collaboration with Arsenal FC from the United Kingdom, by so that it
Yeah. I think we have a technical issue from the speaker. Yeah. Before I will close this event, before we close this event, for our participant, please open your camera. I will take a picture on the screen. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, another 1, 2, 3. Yes, Neil, thank you. Thank you for your cooperation. Finally, we come to the visiting lecture today. We would like to thank you for the speaker today for the wonderful information and sharing your knowledge. We hope this information will be beneficial for all participants. At least we hope to have more collaboration in the future with MEST University Malawi. The visiting lecture for today. Yeah, we hope to see you soon. Thank you and please stay and goodbye.